Varun as always, and today I'm joined by Nicky Bellew. Welcome to the show, Nicky.
Brother, good to see you.
It's nice to have you on, mate. Could you tell people a little bit about yourself, please?
Absolutely. I'm actually originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. When I was 11 years old, the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran. And my late father, God rest his soul, he could see the writing on the wall. This wasn't going to be a place to raise a Christian family. So he got together with my mom, they talked, and they made a decision. They were going to get the whole family out of Iran and into the free West. It took them a while, but eventually we settled where I now live in Toronto, Canada. Now, you got to understand, man, at the time, I was a kid, right? I didn't want to leave my home. I didn't want to leave my friends. But looking back now, it was the single greatest thing mom and dad could have done for us. They took us from a legacy of tyranny to a legacy of freedom. Now, and I believe inside every human breast beats the living heart of freedom. Every man, every woman on this planet yearns to breathe free, to march to the tune of their own drummer, right? And if you think about it and you're an entrepreneur, you need to understand freedom and its role in allowing you to operate. Without freedom, you don't have free expression, which means you can't go around saying whatever you need to say in order to figure out what kind of chart course you want to chart. Okay. And without free expression, there's no free enterprise. You can't choose what path you're going to take, what kind of business you're going to start. You're going to have to do, what's available. You're going to have to kiss the posterior of the authorities in power, right? And free enterprise is the basis of entrepreneurial success. So me, I'm a champion for freedom, and coming from a country that wasn't free and still isn't free to the free West, I say to everyone born here, you're lucky, you're blessed, you got it good. Don't take it for granted. And most especially, okay, and I say this to all my friends who are in business and go, I'm not into politics. Politics is into you. If you do not take a stand for organizations, people, politicians who stand for traditional Western values of liberty and freedom, they will be stripped away from you. And if you think that can't happen here, I point out to you Exhibit 2020 to 2024, the pandemic or the scamdemic, where they took away all our rights and freedoms, okay, on the basis of very flimsy evidence, to say the least. So you got to make sure as an entrepreneur you stand up and believe in freedom, right? Now, my father, he was an entrepreneur and he was a believer in freedom. And Aaron, if you met him, you'd love this man because you know what? He was the kind of guy that if you were his friend, you were looking for work, he'd try to find you a job with his company. And if he couldn't, he'd sit you down in his office. He'd call all his entrepreneur buddies and he'd ethically manipulate them until one of them gave you a job, right? If you were trying to start a business, he'd sit you down in his office, he'd listen to your ideas, and he'd give you good feedback because he was very smart and an astute businessman. He'd also introduce you to people that could give you capital or clients. That's what he was like. And if you were trying to buy a car or house, and keep in mind, Iran was a second world country at the time. Banking systems don't work like here, so the bank might not give you all the money you need. You go to dad, dad would give you a loan, and he'd never let you pay it back. If you tried to, he'd go, get out of here, right? That's what he was like. And people say to me, Nicky, come on, man. Nobody's really like that, right? That's like Hollywood BS. And I go, no, man. Seriously, my dad was like that. And they go, I don't believe it. And I go, seriously, he was. And they say to me, they're cynical. They go, what's the percentage in it for him? Why? And you know what I'd say to them? I'd tell you what the percentage in it for him was. First and foremost, he was a devout believer in his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He was a committed Christian. And he believed that he'd been blessed by God Almighty. And it was his duty as a devout Christian to share those blessings with his fellow man. He took that very seriously. It was not a joke to him at all. Secondly, he did it because, well, he was rich, man. He had money. He could. You know what I mean? So I wanted to be like my dad growing up. I wanted people to look up to me. When I was a kid, he'd go and teach me things. He'd say to me, son, life is about people. It's not about money. And I go, okay, dad. And then he'd say to me, in business, son, business even is about people, not money. Now, to my 8-year-old brain, that didn't compute, right? I'm like, Dad, what are you talking about? Of course, business is about money. Without money, there's no business. So that's true, son. But without people, there's no need for money. Because what is business? It's solving problems for people for profit. Imagine a Venn diagram. One circle's problems, other circles people, third circle's profit. Where all three intersect, that's the purpose of business. So P, 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 and P. P to the power of 4. And Dad would say to me, that man sitting in front of you, man, that's someone's brother, that's someone's son, that's someone's father, that's someone's husband. That's a hero to somebody. Maybe someone just like you disappointed them in business. It's your job to restore his faith in humanity, because every human being needs somebody to believe in them and somebody they can believe in. Because there are moments, man, Aaron, you, me, everybody, our self belief wobbles. And what we need in that moment, Aaron, is we need someone to see who we are and remind us, you know, because that little spark of belief, Aaron, that little spark of belief can turn into a roaring fire. And that roaring fire, brother, that roaring fire means you're off into the races, living life as the best version of yourself. Now, I have a background as an entrepreneur. I've written 11 books, 2 of them New York Times bestsellers. I host 2 podcasts. One of them has been a top 10 iTunes marketing podcast. I have helped dozens and dozens and dozens of people grow their businesses at 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures to their annual income. But I'm going to tell you this. What I am most proud of is I'm Napoleon Billou's son, and I'm a professional believer in people.
That's pretty epic, Nicky. He sounds like an amazing man.
Yeah, he is. He was. Anyways, he passed on 5 years ago.
Oh, sorry to hear that. But yeah, such an inspirational figure like that to have in your life must be, must have been amazing throughout, really, and really helped kind of build who you are today and what you've achieved, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And coming back to the business thing, never has a truer word been said that it's all about people. It's all about them relationships that we build, right? It's all about helping, solving problems for people, supporting people. Because too many people get into business thinking, "Oh, it's about the money. It's about making a quick buck," and that's not sustainable in any way.
No, man, it really isn't.
No.
And if you if you're smart and you think about this, the way you're going to win in business is you're going to win in business by solving more problems for more people. That's how you win in business. You don't win any other way, right? And you know, I got into the business of helping entrepreneurs, Aaron, because you know, I wanted to forward my father's legacy, right? I believe entrepreneurs, except for soldiers who like fight for our rights and freedoms, entrepreneurs are society's greatest heroes. They're the ones with all the ideas, with all the drive to put them into motion. They create all the new jobs, all the innovation in the world. They truly are the best of the best, right? So I got into the business of helping entrepreneurs because I see so many good people get into business and they're good at what they do, and but they're not good at business, especially not good at marketing and sales. So when it comes to sales, Aaron, there's so many people that just the idea of selling, they just go, oh my God, I don't want to be one of those pushy salespeople. I don't want to reek of commission breath when I walk into the room. If you think about that, brother, that's some crazy ass shit, right? Because if you don't understand that without sales, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. Without sales, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. And the problem is, nobody wants to be sold or pressured. You don't want to be sold. I don't want to be sold. So you got to reframe that. And I help people reframe that sales frame into service. Everybody wants to be served. Don't you love being served by a caring advocate? Like if you go into a clothing store and someone just goes, hey, you want to buy this? You want to buy this? Man, you get away from me. But if someone comes up to you and says, hello, sir, nice to see you. I'm here if you need me, but go ahead and enjoy yourself. And you go, oh, wow, that was nice. And then you see something, hey, come on over. And they'll go, tell me a bit about this. And then they'll tell you about it. And then they'll tell you, hey, that's good eye. That, that thing is $450. Over here, there's something equally nice that's half the price. And you might want to check that out. And you go, oh, wow, good guy. And before you know it, you came there just looking and you leave having spent $3,000 on clothes. Right? And it was because this guy wasn't trying to sell you. He was trying to serve you. And when someone's serving you, man, you feel good. So I've helped so many entrepreneurs think of speaking to people as an act of service. And you know what this has done for them is this reframe has allowed them to go after business that otherwise they'd go, no, I don't want to be seen as pushy, so they don't go after it. So they double their business, they triple their business. Like I had a client of mine very recently. Right? And this client basically was, how can I put this? He was a coach. He coaches men, Aaron. And he coaches men who have been in long-term marriages, like 7 years and up, but there's no sex in the marriage. The bedroom's dead. You know what I'm saying? And that's not good, man. When that happens, that marriage is on the way to divorce, right? So what Paul does is he helps these guys fix dead bedrooms so that their wife wants to have sex with them again, right? That's a beautiful thing. Saves families, saves marriages. But he had no clients. He had no clients. So, and the reason that he had no clients is because, he was like charging $100, $200 for his work. And I'm like, okay, dude, first and foremost, man, why? He goes, well, I don't want to make money off of people. I go, are you making money off of people? I go, interesting choice of words. And he said, yeah. I said, well, were you married at one point? Because he isn't now. He said, yeah. And I said, was your bedroom dead? He said, yeah. I said, well, tell me about it. He said, well, when we first got married, it was all hot and heavy. And after several years, sex was non-existent or obligatory. It wasn't good for anybody. And I said, all right. How'd that make you feel? He said, I felt horrible. And I said, what happened? He said, well, we ended up getting divorced, and so now I don't see my kid all the time. I only see my kid half the time. He said, how much did that cost you? He said, oh, $100,000 minimum. I said, how did it make you feel over the years? He goes, absolutely terrible. I said, so when a man comes to you, is it likely that he's dealing with all the same issues you dealt with? He goes, 100%. And I go, so let me understand this. You are okay with another man suffering the way you suffered because you don't want him to think you're pushy and salesy? Am I getting this right? And he went really quiet for a while. He said, when you put it that way, it sounds pretty fucking stupid, right? And I go, yeah, it does, doesn't it? He said, okay. And I said, so what are you going to charge? He says, well, I'll charge, $100. Oh, no. I said, no. I said, these people will not take you seriously if you charge that low level of amount. You're not going to look like a professional. You're going to look like a bottom feeder. I said, so how much should I charge? I said, well, 12-week program, $5,000 US. I said, wow. He said, well, that's a lot of money. I go, really? You told me you spent $100,000 on your divorce. You were not getting sex for years, and that made you feel like shit. And then your marriage broke up, and that made you feel like shit. And you don't get to see your kids all the time, which is not good for you or the kids or her. So run that by me again. Would you have spent $5,000 back then to save $100,000, keep having sex in your marriage, and keep your family together? He said, I'd have spent $100,000 for that. I go, and you're only charging $5,000. And he goes, yeah. I said, you need to charge enough that the client takes you seriously. Because let me just say something to you. If you're going to have brain surgery, Aaron, if you have a tumor in your head and there's two surgeons that are in front of you, and one of them charges $1,000 for the surgery and the other charges 100,000. If you knew nothing else about them, which one would you think was more skilled?
It's always the one that charges more, is. You'd want to go see Dr. Nick, do you, around the corner?
Right. Right. And the truth is, man, like it or not, that's a fact. So he said, okay, I'll charge $5,000. So he got a client in his first month with me, and a second client, and then a third and a fourth within 6 weeks. So he made 20 grand after having made zero. Now he had a side job. He was an IT director or manager somewhere. So it wasn't like he was broke, but he was shocked that he made 20 grand. And then he came to me and he said, you know, the first guy I signed up, within 2 weeks of me working with him, said to me, my bedroom isn't dead anymore. And I'm like, that must have felt good. He said, yeah, that felt amazing. And I said, are you nervous about charging 5,000 anymore? He says, I actually think I'm probably not charging enough now. So the reason I say this to you, Aaron, is because here's a man who's a good man, who had a real skill set and who is able to help men that are dealing with some pretty shitty, devastating circumstances, okay? And yet this societal bullshit conversation about sales is bad was in his head. You know, there used to be a time where salespeople were like consultants. They were like revered. But then, you know, all these pushy, fuller brush type salespeople destroyed that. And everybody's like, oh my God, these are these pushy people. No, man, you're not one of those people. When I teach you how to sell, I teach you how to be a man of service, a woman of service. And you do that properly, Aaron, your life will change. You'll change people's lives because they'll be your clients and you'll help them and you'll make money. To me, that's a win win win.
Yeah, a lot of the time it's about kind of how you frame it as well, right? Because you're thinking to yourself, "Oh, I'm charging too much," and you probably haven't framed it right. Is probably what the problem is, and you see that a lot where people don't actually frame what the value right of what it is that they're actually doing.
Well, absolutely. And you see, the whole reason is because their entire focus is on themselves. So, number one rule of success is don't make it about you, make it about the other person. You can't be thinking, oh, I hope they're going to like me. I hope they're going to want to work with me. None of that crap. Instead, what you need to do is you need to say, um, who is this person? What are they dealing with? How bad is it hurting them? And what are the consequences of them not solving this? And then, am I the right person to solve this for them or to help them solve it? Is probably a better way to put it. You put the attention off of you and onto them.
Yeah,
It's not
that's
about you, it's about them. It's not about you. It's not about you. The only reason you feel slimy, pushy, like you reek of commission breath, because it's all about you and you're wondering if you're going to get the sale. I don't ever wonder if I'm going to get the sale. You know what I wonder? The only thing I wonder is, are they hurting bad enough that God sent them to me? And are they ready to be helped? So if they are, then that's why I'm here on this planet, to help people. And I'm sorry, I can't hear you anymore. I don't know what happened.
there you go. That's an issue on my end. Sorry, how was that?
Yeah, there you go. I can hear
Yeah,
you.
that's my fault. But the thing is, Nikki, I think the big issue is, and I've felt this myself when I've tried to buy things or solve problems for myself, is if you feel and get that feeling that that other person's in it for themselves and they're only trying to achieve what they're trying to achieve, it really puts you off, and it's always put me off Whereas if you genuinely think that what this person's offering me can help me and will help me, as long as I may still have to do stuff, I may still have to take certain steps, but if I think that that stuff is going to help me, then I'm much more likely to buy. And I have bought stuff off people in the past where I thought that that's going to help me, and a lot of the time, like you say, the product's not even that good. A lot of the time, it's they're so good at marketing. Whereas a lot of people who have really good products, because they can't market, they're getting beat to the post by the people with lesser products and lesser services. Really,
Yeah, 100%. I got to tell you something. Um, People can smell a pushy phony a mile away. They just can't. In the world, they're done with that. The buyers are smarter today, right? Um, and the truth of the matter is, nobody wants to be sold, bro. I don't want to be freaking sold. I don't want to be sold. I love to buy. I buy all kinds of stuff. I mean, look, back here, you see, this is my bookcase, man. I got 4,000 books in my house, right? I collect knives. I got lots of knives. I love that kind of stuff. But here's the truth, bro. If someone came to me and said, "You want to buy this book? You want to buy this book? You want to buy this knife? You want to buy this knife?" Get away from me. Get away from me. But if someone shows a human interest in me and I have a need, I'm all in. I'm all in. And that's the truth for everybody. See, this is why my client Paul, this coach, he was successful, right? Um, you got to take the attention off you. You got to put the attention on the other person. Now, the
yeah,
other thing, Aaron, that's very important is this cannot be about um, anything other than you making a decision that you are going to have a business that's going to help people and you're going to be successful. The four qualities of success are: number one, make a decision. You can't be thinking to yourself, I'll give it a try, we'll see what happens. Nope, I'm in it to win it. Secondly, you have to make a commitment to get good at what you suck at right now. Suck is a technical business term, Aaron, right? So you've got to get good at it, which means you're going to need to acknowledge at the moment that you suck at sales, you suck at branding yourself and marketing yourself and putting yourself out there. How do I know that? You wouldn't be talking to me if you didn't. People who are masterful at those things don't need my help. Okay. And if you suck at those things, you need to commit to learn to get good at it. Because you're gonna suck, then you're gonna be mediocre, then you're gonna be average, then you're gonna be good, then you're gonna be great, then you're gonna be masterful. You got to do the work. You got to put in the reps. It's not going to magically happen for you. Okay. Thirdly, this is very, very important. Um, Thirdly, brother, you have to 100% hire coaching and mentoring. You got to be coachable and mentorable. The great Robin Sharma, the author of the immortal book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and the other immortal book, The 5 a.m. Club, once said to me, because he used to be a fitness client of mine when I was a fitness coach, if you want to double your income this year, you got to triple your investment in your own personal professional development. That means you got to hire coaches, join masterminds, do courses, you know what I mean? Attend conferences, buy books, all of it. Aaron, if in 2024 your personal investment in you was $5,000, pounds, whatever the number is, if you want to double your income this year, you got to go to 15. You got to buy more books. You got to hire more coaches or different coaches. You got to join a new mastermind. You got to attend a new conference. That's what's important. Right? That's what's super, 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 super important. And then finally, man, you got to be resourceful. You got to come up with the time, energy, and the money to implement it all because it ain't going to happen by itself. It is not going to happen by itself.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think a lot of
It's
people as
practice.
well. A lot of people think that they can get good at it before they start because they're afraid to start. You know what I mean? But you have to be doing it as well. That's it. You learn by doing as well. So yeah, it's great to do all the courses and the masterminds and everything else. But if you're not actually taking the action and doing what you need to be doing, and actually, so I'll take this podcast for example. I started by doing. You have to learn as you go and do it. You have to not be afraid to make a fool of yourself and not afraid to suck because you will suck at the start. You just have to get on with it. Unfortunately, that's the only way that you get through these barriers to the next level.
Yeah, 100% I agree. 100% I agree. You've got to do the work, and an investment is necessary. Um, it's super, super necessary. And
Yeah,
you think about this, brother, businesses invest in themselves all the time. And if you're an entrepreneur, the most important asset in your business is you. Man, you need more investment than anything else in your business.
yeah, and it amazes me that people don't do it. Because I don't think it's even a business thing. I think just in life in general, whatever you do, even if you're not interested in entrepreneurship and you just work a job or whatever else, then if you're not growing, then what are you doing? Then it doesn't make sense to me. Maybe I'm just the way I'm wired, but I always think I always want to be improving some aspect of my life somewhere. And people who
Yeah,
are just kind of happy, just sat in the mud, being where they're at, that really confuses me, and I can't relate to it.
no, no. I'm with you on that, brother.
Yeah,
100%.
I mean, I honestly can't get my head around it, and especially if you have aspirations to do something. So if you want to like start a business, you want to, it's like starting a business. There's so much to learn because you might be good at whatever it is, producing a product or providing a specific service, but then you've got to do all the other things that come with business, like you say, the marketing, the sales, the accounts. You've got to learn it all. You've got to have a working knowledge of it all, really, especially at the beginning when you're kind of a solopreneur, when you're trying to get things off the ground.
Yeah, yeah. And if you want to be like a thought leader, someone who's known with powerful message, you gotta first and foremost stop being all things to all people. So I had a client. Um, his name was Carl Kramer. When he came to me, he was 57, which is the same age I am now, and that kind of blows me away because I always used to think 57 was. I feel young, man. I feel young, vital, powerful, all that. Carl was uh, introduced to me my work by one of my other clients who was a member of an organization called BNI. And Carl said, "Hey, I heard you've done really good work with Dan." And he sat with me. He said, "Look, I heard you help him grow his business. I think you can help me grow mine." I said, "Sure." He used to be an executive vice president for a manufacturing company. Okay. And but he got burned out, man. He was working 60-hour weeks, right? So he quit and he started an executive coaching practice. And he loved being an executive coach, bro. He was only working half the hours and he loved it. He loved it. He was fulfilled, but he was only making, 70,000 a year, down from 350,000. That's a big drop, 80%, right? So he said, "I just like to make what I used to make before, but I don't want to work as hard. Do you think we can do that?" I said, "Okay, yeah." Number one thing a client needs from a coach is certainty. You need to give them certainty because they're uncertain. They need certainty. They need caring. They need clarity as to what the problem is and that you know how to fix it. And they need certainty that it can be fixed. Caring, clarity, and certainty. Okay. So I asked him, "What do you do in your coaching? What problems do you solve?" He goes, "Well, I'm actually really good. I can solve any business problems for anybody." And I said, "Ah, you're trying to be all things to all people." He said, "What?" Yeah, you're trying to be all things to all people. And he says, no. I know you are. Yeah. And then finally he understood that's what he's trying to do. So I said, we're going to narrow your focus. We're going to do something called the ideal client exercise. The ideal client exercise. It was fantastic. So what we did with that was we took a look at all his clients. We made a list of all the ones who were awesome to work with, super fun. He really enjoyed it. Then we made another list of all the clients that he got really awesome results for. And then we made another list of all the clients that were easy to transact with. You gave them a price and they said, okay, here's the payment in full, right? And they sent you some referrals, right? Those kinds of people. And remember the Venn diagram. So this was like a Venn diagram. Who are the clients that were in all three circles? Like where they all three intersected? Turns out a lot of them were solo practitioner lawyers, mostly men over the age of 45. They were making high six figures, low seven figures. They wanted to triple at least the size of their business, at least triple the size of their business, right? So all his messaging started to be aimed at those people and that problem. And I got to tell you something, Aaron, within a very short period of time, 6 months, Buddy went from making 70,000 a year, which is $6,000 a month, to making $50,000 a month, which is 600,000 a year. Bro, that's just shy of 10xing his business. And he only worked 25, 30 hours a week. Now, Carl's story is bittersweet because 4 years later, he contracted pancreatic cancer and he died. Okay. He was like 62 when he died, 4 and a bit years later. And he was a friend. I cried when he died. And I reflected on Carl's life, the time that I knew him, the last 4 years of his life. So, those last 4 years of his life, Carl was making a wonderful amount of money, Aaron, okay? Like, amazing amount of money. He had no financial issues. He was completely fulfilled and he had lots of free time. And I don't know about you. I don't know when I'm going to pass away. I don't know when you're going to pass away. But it is my fervent desire that when I pass away, Aaron, that I have lived life as the best version of myself, that I've made the kind of money I want to make, that I've been around people I love, that I do the things I like and love even, and that I'm fulfilled. It is my belief that Carl Kramer went to his grave a man fulfilled, a man successful, a man who lived life as the best version of himself. And I'm proud that I did something to help him get
Yeah, life is so short, Nicky. Things happen that often kind of crop up and make us realize how short it is. Um, yeah, somehow a lot of the time we still tend to lose a bit of focus, don't we? And maybe not live our lives to the fullest or how we should. We get kind of caught up in the minutiae of day to day life. Um, I think from my experience, and I've been guilty of this, is don't take that big picture view. And I
there.
think you need to take that big picture view and you need to remind yourself constantly about the big picture, what you actually want, what your goals are in life, what you want to achieve, how you want your life to be and how you want to live your life, how you want loved ones to remember you and that kind of thing. And I think
100%.
if we don't do that, we get lost in that minutia all the time and we just get dragged into the daily slog that life can be and we don't appreciate the amazing moments that we're living through really.
100%, my brother. 100%.
Yeah. How do
You
you
blink and life is gone.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. How do you kind of focus on the big picture? How do you kind of keep yourself on that path of kind of living life how you want to live it, get the most out of it?
Well, brother, you know, every single day, I say you need to take a few minutes and write out your why. Write out your why. You know why I do what I do, Freddie? Because there's good people, people like you, who are in business today, and they're grinding, they're working hard, and they're not getting ahead. You know what I'm saying? They're not getting ahead. They're trying to get leads, they're trying to get clients, they're trying to get sales. It's not happening for them. Certainly not at the pace that they need it to happen. And this is hurting them, it's hurting the people they love. And the charlatans, those folks are coming in and swooping business the good people should have got. I do what I do because I believe I'm the Lord's instrument to help good men like you get all the business you can handle and then some. Make all the money you need and then some. Do with it all the things you've always dreamed of doing and then some. And help people that your special skill set of genius can help. And as many people as you can handle and then some. I do that, bro. My why is fulfilled. But what's your why? Why do you do what you do? Start your day, write it out.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing. You know, a lot of people don't know their why. They don't, they haven't taken the time to figure it out, and they just kind of live life and just as it unfolds, and life kind of happens to them rather than kind of taking control of what they want to achieve and what they want to do with life. And
I think life happens for all of us, not to any of us.
yeah, but that's the problem. In it, a lot of people will let life just happen to them and just wait and just let things unfold and just kind of go from one issue to the next. And you know, I've been guilty of that myself. I've done a lot of that where I've not kind of driven my life in any particular direction that I wanted it to go, and spent a lot of time just treading water and just waiting for the next wave, man, waiting for the next wave to hit.
Amen.
Yeah, can be difficult though. Can be difficult for people. So, talk to me about your podcasting, Nicky. So you host two podcasts, you said.
Yep. I host the Sovereign Man podcast, which is a podcast for men. We're living in an era where society and culture in the West has decidedly turned anti man and anti masculine. There's a lot of BS, that used to be confined to the university that just went mainstream. And for the last 30 years in particular, men have been told they're bad, they're wrong, they're toxic. And that's a load of bullshit. Men built the world. Men are awesome. And I'm here as an antidote to that negative messaging. And that podcast, the Sovereign Man podcast, is an antidote to that. We bring on guests that talk about issues that are important to men, all about uplifting men, manhood, masculinity. And my second podcast is called the Thought Leader Revolution podcast. In it, I interview the world's leading thought leaders in their field. So I interview people that are very famous, like Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen, who wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. Dr. John Maxwell, who's the world's #1 leadership author. He sold 60 million copies of his leadership books. His most famous book is called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I've had people on the show like Kathy Ireland. Kathy Ireland used to be a Sports Illustrated swimsuit cover model. And now she owns a company called Kathy Ireland Worldwide. And they do 3.6 billion a year in sales. I've also had on the show George Ross, who used to be Donald Trump's chief financial officer at the Trump Organization, and he was also on his TV show The Apprentice and the other TV show he had called The Celebrity Apprentice. You name it, man. I've had some high-level people that are just the very best at what they do, and we interview them because we want to inspire our listeners to learn from the best and to be able to take uh, those tips, strategies, secrets into their own lives and their own businesses and win with them.
I like that, man. How do you find being a podcast host and stuff? Do you enjoy it, or is that just a necessary
Yeah,
evil?
I love being a podcast host. And I love being a podcast guest, brother. I've been a guest on 700 shows
Wow,
since May 2022. If you go on iTunes or Spotify and you type in my name, you'll find me on a few places. And
that's yeah, it's a lot of graft, man. Doing that.
yeah, yeah, sure is, sure is. But listen, podcasting is the way. Donald Trump was elected president on November 5th in large measure because he was brilliant in utilizing independent podcasts as a means of getting the word out. He went on Joe Rogan, on Theo Vaughn, on Sean Ryan, Patrick Bet David's show, Elon Musk Spaces, and a whole host of other shows. The views that he garnered were in the hundreds of millions. And this was all free. He didn't pay for any of this.
No, it was really
It
clever
is
that.
estimated that he was able to generate 4 million additional votes because of this. Okay. So the listeners that saw him on these shows, these were folks who are mostly apolitical, not inclined to vote at all, or definitely not inclined to vote for Donald Trump. But when they saw him humanized on these shows, they let their guard down and they decided to vote for him. And if you're a businessman and you're going, okay, Nicky, that's nice for Donald Trump, but why should I care? Well, there are 5.8 million podcasts in existence, Aaron. The vast majority are interview show formats. When I come on 700 shows, this means that in the neighborhood of 3.5, 4 million people know who I am, okay, that otherwise wouldn't. It also means that if you go right now and you Google my name or put me in Spotify or iTunes, you're going to see I've been on a lot of shows. Instant credibility for me, instant credibility. And beyond that, and this is what most people don't understand, is I now have had a conversation with over 700 podcast hosts. Now, Aaron, I don't know about you, but I'm old school. I only do business with people I know, like, and trust. And going on a podcast is a way to get to know hosts and build a relationship, build know, like, and trust. You and I are spending an hour together today, right? By the end of this hour, we're going to get to know each other a little bit. We're going to get to like each other a little bit. You know, you're going to like my quirky accent. I'm going to like your quirky accent. You're going to like what I have to say and the way I say it. I'm going to like the way you ask questions and you set me up for success. And I'm not saying that we trust each other like with our lives or anything like that, but there's more trust at the end of this episode than there is at the beginning. Would you agree with that? Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think
100%.
that's the case for a lot of people that listen to the shows as well, right? Because rather than
Bingo.
a
Bingo.
short kind of 2 minute ad or 1 minute ad, whatever you could put on Facebook, they get to spend an hour getting to know who you are, what you're all about, and understand you. And then obviously you've got all these other shows they can go and listen and learn even more and build that genuine kind of relationship where they can kind of trust and get a feel for who you are.
So because of that, brother, because all that has happened, right? Um, 700 people that I did not know, almost all of them are fellow business people, right? Entrepreneurs. And remember what business I'm in. I'm in the business of helping entrepreneurs. Now, Aaron, put your hat on as a business consultant. If you were talking to me, Nicky Bellew, and I said, Aaron, in the next 2.5 years, I have an opportunity to meet 700 entrepreneurs in an intimate fashion, get to know them for between a half an hour and an hour. Would your advice to me be Nicky, do it? Or would your advice to me be Nicky, don't do it?
Ah, man, I think you know the answer would be jump all over that, right?
Jump all over that. And Aaron, here's the good news. Out of those relationships, I've done business. Out of those relationships, I've had collaborations. Out of those relationships, I've made $500,000 in sales. Aaron, that's 2.5 years. And I go on podcasts part time, 2 to 5 hours a week. 5 hours is a lot in a week if I do that as a guest. Now, on top of that, I go sell on stages. On top of that, um, I do phone calls and I speak to my warm market. On top of that, I do things like LinkedIn marketing and referral marketing. So this is a part of my selling strategy. You follow what I'm saying? And Aaron,
Yeah, of course.
nobody else does it like me. I wrote a book about this called Get Booked and Get Paid. And you know what? I don't have it here. I took it downstairs. That's my bad. But I'll tell you this right now, brother. Oh, I do have a copy. This is it. I outline all my secrets in this book. If you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, this is maybe the most important book for helping you learn how to generate new leads, new sales, and new clients you're going to use in 2025 and read. And this is a book you can read in 2 hours. And it's a beautiful thing. In my opinion, everybody should do this. Now, a lot of people go, well, Nicky, man, you're a professional speaker. You've been on all these shows, man. You got big energy. You're articulate. I'm not like that. And I'll go, okay, well, let me tell you a story of one of my clients. So he's a tax accountant. He's not exactly the guy's most charismatic person, you know? He's not the world's most charismatic person. I taught him what to do. He took a course. I teach a workshop on how to do this as well, also called Get Booked and Get Paid. And brother, he did everything I taught him. Everything I taught him. And boom. First show he goes on, the host was so impressed. She said, I think all my clients could use your help. Do you mind if I give you some referrals? And what would you say if someone said after you were on their show, do you mind if I give you some referrals? No, I don't think I'd like any referrals. No, of course he said I like some referrals. He made thousands and thousands of dollars first appearance. And this guy is like a tax accountant, dry humor, you know, not loud, all of that. Secondly, another fella did my program. He's Belgian. English is not his first language. It's not even his second or third language. It's his fourth language. He speaks Dutch, French, German, and then English. And he only goes on English language shows. And in his first week, he made a 3,000 euro sale as a result of being a guest on someone else's podcast. Now, most people who go on shows, they never get any leads, any sales, or any clients because they do it wrong. They don't know how to do it correctly. But when I do it, or the people I teach do it, 70 to 80% of the time, they get leads out of it. They get sales out of it. They get clients out of it. Right now, this is a blue ocean. There's no competition. But in a year or two, this will no longer be a blue ocean. This will be a very competitive landscape. So the time to take advantage of this is now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that do go on podcasts, but a lot
they
of
don't make
them,
any money.
yeah,
They don't make
and
any money.
I think a lot of them don't necessarily have the messaging right either. Again, it comes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's getting
Very
that
true.
messaging right, and a lot of them don't know who they're actually aiming it towards, who they're actually talking to either. So, you know, if you don't know those things, then you're just going to be aimlessly having a conversation, aren't you? Not going to drive your business forward, which is what a lot of people do go on podcasts to do. I mean, some people will come on just for conversations, and you know, I love that as well. That's great. But the people who come on to try and grow their business and to, you know, reach more people, then you've kind of got to get that down really beforehand.
Your message needs to be nailed 100%. Like Carl Kramer, I can do anything for anybody. That's a terrible message. But I can help lawyers grow their solo practices, double and triple them. That's a good message.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of what people need to learn. That's, in the book, we talk about that. And of course, we teach people how to do that. It's very important, very powerful.
Yeah, definitely. You need to know it, and then like we said again, it's just about repetition. Then, right? It's about you'll get that message better and better by actually doing the reps and actually getting on shows and talking to people.
Yep. 100%.
So, where can people find you, Nicky, if they want to kind of find a bit more about you or get in touch with you, or maybe even pick up one of your books?
Go on Amazon. You can type in Nicky Bellew. I recommend you Get Booked and Get Paid. Great book to start with. On social media, I'm the only Nicky Bellew in the world, NICKYBILLOU. So either one of those is good. And if you're a business owner and you're looking for help in getting unstuck and getting some leads and sales and clients, jump on my calendar. Go to ecircleacademy.com/appointment. Pick a time that works for you. Let's have a call.
Sound, Nicky. Before we kind of bring this into land and we close the show, do you have any kind of final thoughts or messages that you would like to share with people?
Well, yeah. Tell you one last story. So 7 years ago, um, there was a woman who was introduced to us who was very high profile. She had been the country director for Canada for one of the world's best known, largest, and oldest personal development firms. All right, big deal, big job. She had brought a guy on to help her run the company a few years back. And at first, everything was great. But after a year, their vision of the future kind of diverged. And there's a board of directors involved. So they kicked her out of her own company. Kind of like Steve Jobs in the early 80s with John Scully at Apple, right? Remember that story?
Yeah, man.
So for about 18 months, she was lost, bereft, not sure what to do. She was introduced to us. And we could see this a good human being. It's a good woman. So we poured into her. We loved on her. We helped her get clear on her message. We helped her get clear on, who she was going after. So she was going to help entrepreneurs who had $10 million a year plus companies. And what she was helping them do was deal with massive burnout. And she did well right off the gate. First month, she made $10,000 in sales. Second month, $12,000. Third month, she made $18,000 in sales. In her fourth month, she made $62,200 in sales in a month. That figure will become germane in a moment. So she lives in Ottawa, in Canada. I live in Toronto. 5-hour drive, Toronto to Ottawa. My oldest son at the time was 12. He's about to turn 19. He played football, soccer, and he had a tournament in Ottawa. So I drove him up and I called her on our way and I said, "Hey, I'm coming to Ottawa." She says, "Oh, yeah, what's going on?" I said, "I'm bringing my son. He's got a tournament." And I said, "Look, the final's tomorrow at noon. Why don't you bring your son?" Her son was his age. "Come watch the game. We'll all grab some lunch." She said, "That's a fine idea." She did that. We won. We won the tournament. It was great. Had some lunch. Everybody had a really good time. We went home. Now, a few weeks later, we had an event in Toronto. It was one of our quarterly branded thought leader immersions. This is where we teach you how to dial in your message and be sought after as a thought leader. So to be known for what you know. And there's a point in the program where we make an offer. It's for people to be a member of our year-long educational mastermind program. It's a $40,000 US program. Big ticket. And when I make that offer, the way I do it is I ask my existing members to explain why they joined, what they're getting, what the results have been. It's way better than me talking about that, right? Very effective, very powerful. So here's what happens. Um, Time comes and I go, well, anybody want to share their experience working with us? Normally people put up their hand and I pick someone and they come on stage. Not today. She like rushes the stage, almost knocks me on my ass, man. She jumps up. I'm like, okay. I step back. And I'm looking at her from behind, okay? And I can see her head kind of going this way, looking at the audience, and but I can't hear her speak. So she's quiet. And I'm like, what's going on? And then I see her shoulders go like this. What's going on? And then I hear sobs. Aaron, you're a man. I'm sure you can relate. As a man, when I see a woman crying in front of me that I know, my first thought is, why is she crying? What did I do? So my girlfriend who works with me came up with a box of tissues and she gratefully takes a couple. And I look cool, but inside I am not cool, man. Like you know what I'm talking about? I'm like, holy shit, something bad's about to go down, right? So she turns to me and she's sobbing and she's crying. And she says to me, in between the sobs and the tears, Nicky, you didn't know this, but when you and your little son came to Ottawa, and me and my little son came to see you guys, my little son was all excited in the back of the car. He's going, Mommy, 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 who are we going to go meet? Yeah, 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 yeah. And she just like to shut him up, goes, oh, sweetie, we're going to meet Nicky Bellew and his son. Now be quiet type of thing. She didn't need to say that part because he got real quiet real fast. You know, 12-year-old boys don't get quiet fast, right? They're usually pretty loud and boisterous. And he said to her, oh, Mommy, are we going to go meet the man who saved our family? So, Aaron, I am 57-year-old man born in an ultra masculine culture in the Middle East. I am not a pussy and I don't cry in public. Okay? Just don't cry in public. I cry by myself, cry at movies and things like that, but not in public. Not on this day. I started to cry like a little girl. And we hugged. And everybody in the audience is like, oh. And then she keeps talking and she says to me, you didn't know this, but when I first came to you, I hadn't worked in 18 months. I hadn't had any income in 18 months. And the bank had not received their mortgage money from us in a whole bunch of months. And they were about to foreclose on the home. Her husband's an artist. He's a photographer, right? She didn't make a lot of money. So she and the husband were fighting every day like cats and dogs. And her kids were freaked out, right? And she said, they're freaking out. They're thinking, we're going to break up. He said, I thought we were going to break up. But you helped me make money. And I made a lot of money this last month. And I was able to catch up our arrears on the mortgage and put some money aside. And so my husband and I, we stopped fighting over money because money wasn't an issue anymore. And you literally helped us save our family. Thank you. So, brother, um, an interesting thing happened. There were 8 people in the room that were prospects for the program. $40,000 program. That's significant prospect list, right? Now, first off, usually some of the people, when I ask them, do you want to join us, say yes, and they fill out a registration form. Some of the people say, nope, not for me. That's cool. And some of the people are like, Not sure. I need to think about it, talk to you, blood, whatever. So my job usually is to go talk to the people that have not yet signed up, right? So guess what, brother? On this day, everybody signed up. Everybody. 100% for a $40,000 a year program. Was it because Nicky Bellew is some great magical salesman? Hell no. It's because the best salesman in the world, a 12-year-old boy, took up their cause. And all the people in the room, they were in the presence of something real. They weren't being sold or pitched to or tricked or manipulated. They saw raw, real, authentic human being bare her soul. And when she did that, the people in the room who are a little skeptical, wondering if they should, you know what? At the end of the day, they're like, this guy, maybe he's not so full of shit, right? In fact, one of them came to me, and I want you to understand there were two of the eight who had come to me before any of this happened and pulled me aside. And they said to me, so Nicky, listen, I know how these things work, right? There's going to be like some sort of a pitch. I just want you to know I'm not going to be buying your pitch. Hope you don't get too disappointed, right? I came here just to learn. I don't want your pitch. And I'm like, man, no problem, bro. That's what I said to them. And they were the first two guys to sign up, by the way, ahead of everybody. And the one guy came to me, and he like handed me the paper with a lot of like force, like, and he said, "You son of a bitch." Fuck. He said, "I wasn't going to sign up for your bitch." He said, but I guess, you know, the truth is I need help. I said, that's the truth. And he said, and I guess you're not completely full of shit. That's what the guy said to me. I'm like, thanks, I think. Right. And that's how that worked. So when people ask me, what's your why, Nicky? Why do you do what you do? So everybody needs to make money, okay? So let's make sure that we don't pretend that's not a thing, right? Because that's a thing. But my why, man, is I'm looking for good men and women like this woman, Julie, I'm going to call her, who maybe aren't telling the world how badly they're hurting and suffering because their life isn't going the way that they were hoping it was going to go, because their business has imploded, because there's no money and there's fighting in the house and there's little kids involved. And I went through a divorce with my ex-wife, and we had two little kids together. And we get along great now, but back then it was hell. And I'll be goddamned if I have the ability to help stop that because of the skill set God has given me, and I don't do anything about it. I will do something about it. That's my why. I'm looking for my next Julie. That's my why. And if your listeners listening to this, you're Julie in your own way, or you're me. There's someone in your life who's hurting like she is that you can help. And maybe you're hurting like she is and you need help right now. And I want this story to inspire you either way to take action. And I'm done. Yep, you're muted again, buddy-o.
Try that. How's that? Is that working now?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool, man. Been having audio issues all day. Um, Thank you so much. That's an amazing story. Really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show and sharing with us as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you bet.
No worries. I'm going to end the show there, but thank you so much, Nikki. Take care of yourself.
All right.
There you go.